Her name is Dawn. On the 23rd of March 2010 she was born. She's got half a heart, yes you heard that right. You're looking at Supergirl fighting with all her might. So stick around and you will hear the amazing story about my girl right here.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Archie Adventures. If you are new here, my name is Jade-Marie and I am the mother to almost 9-year-old Dawn-louise who has hypoplastic left heart syndrome. So if you didn't know already, throughout February it is Heart Month and these videos are hoping to raise more awareness for her condition. We've already covered a lot of subjects throughout the month, so please do go check out the playlist and get caught up if you haven't already. In today's video I want to talk about what life has been like since I got her home at 6 months old. Now I've already talked about the first 6 months of her life, so this is sort of 6 months to now. Unfortunately, where she is actually almost 9 years old, obviously some things have been forgotten about and gone to the back of my mind. So if I remember things later, I may make a part 2, as this is covering quite a wide area of time. But for now, I'm just going to focus on what I have got to work with. So in today's videos, I'm mostly focusing on appointments because she's had a lot of them throughout her life. Now first I want to focus on cardiology. Obviously since she has a cardiac condition, she has to see a cardiologist very regularly. Coming home at 6 months old, she was being seen every 2 weeks. Then it moved up to every 4 weeks and then every 6 months, and now it's at every 9 months. Although at the moment she is back down to 6 monthly as she's had some unexplained problems. Along with her cardiology appointments at the hospital, we'd have house visits from her health visitor and her community nurses. Community nurses would come round and check her oxygen saturations and make sure that everything was okay. And we'd see them at least once a week, and then it went up as she got older until she had her Fontan age 4, and then those appointments stopped. The health visitor was pretty much just your run-of-the-mill health visitor. They just did her weight, her height, and feeding and things like that. I did also see a dietitian. She would help her to make sure that she was actually eating the correct diet, as with her heart condition things were a little bit different, and her milk was prescribed, so it was slightly different too. On top of those appointments, we also had speech and language and physiotherapy. Sadly, due to the fact that Dawn-louise was on so many severe medications and spent so much time in hospital asleep, she was behind on her speech and language and her physical developments. So she also had mental and physical development therapy. This is different to physiotherapy. This focuses more on what she's actually missing and what she should be able to do and isn't. And we saw them for a good few years. We used to have TAC meetings. I think these were about every fortnight, and TAC stands for Team Around a Child. So this is the appointments where everybody involved in her care, other than her cardiologist at the hospital, would gather together to swap information and make sure everything's on board. We would literally not be able to go a single week without having at least 3 appointments. A lot of our time was spent rushing around and we didn't really get a lot of time at home. Since we spent 6 whole months in hospital, it was really hard to then come home and still not have any actual time together because we're constantly rushing around to see doctors again. So now I would like to talk you through some of the milestones that we've passed over the years, and also some of the more important hospital appointments that we've had. Now obviously I don't have a record of every single appointment that she had because she had them almost every week. So these are just going to be a few highlights just to give you an idea of what the first few years were like. On the 10th of December, Dawn-louise finally set up unaided by herself. This was a huge milestone for her because unfortunately she was behind, like I mentioned earlier. On the 13th of December, just 3 days after she finally sat up for the first time, she was able to be discharged from physiotherapy. 25th of December, we got to celebrate our first Christmas. We're very lucky that we got to spend it at home and have never spent a Christmas in hospital. Other heart families are not that lucky. Even ones closest to us have spent no Christmases at home so far, and their boy is coming up to 3, I think. So it is a very, very special thing for us to be able to have big celebrations at home. On the 31st of December, she said mum for the first time. This was a huge moment for me, being the mum, but also for her speech and language therapy. On the 8th of January, she was able to take her first step. On the 10th of January, Dawn-louise had to go back into hospital for another cardiac catheter procedure. Sadly, they failed 3 times to fit a cannula into her hand. On the 11th of the 1st, she had her cardiac catheter and she had her BT shunt coiled off. Sadly, due to the medication used during this procedure, she did forget how to walk. On the 12th of the 1st, she was able to have an x-ray and be confirmed to be fit to go home. Take a really cool ride in an ambulance. On the 15th of January 2011, she got her second tooth, which was a bit exciting for us because it's a milestone that obviously every parent gets to celebrate, but for us it's extra special because we think that we're never going to get those moments. So something as simple as her getting one of her teeth come through is like huge. On the 27th of January, her weight was 16 pounds and 4 ounces. So she was a little bit smaller than most babies, but she wasn't below the percentile that they like them to stay in. On the 9th of February, she had to have her RSV jab. It is very important that children with Dawn-louise's condition stay up to date on their vaccinations to protect them, because had they got ill, it would be really, really hard on their heart to recover. That's why it's extremely important to keep those jabs and flu vaccines, etc. all up to date. In 2012, we had a really bad episode where we went for a regular checkup and her saturations were only 62%. She is not allowed to go below 75, so this was a big problem. She also wouldn't sit still for the echocardiogram they were trying to perform, so they had to book us in to go to the hospital an hour away and be sedated. On the 30th of January 2015, Dawn-louise was discharged from speech and language therapy. On the 8th of July 2015, she was also discharged from her physical and mental development delay. But sadly, on the 17th of August, she was diagnosed with eye problems. She was diagnosed as long-sighted with unfocused vision, and she would have to wear glasses 24/7 for the rest of her life. Now, getting glasses is not the worst thing in the world, but this diagnosis was quite severe, and they said that it's surprising she didn't have a lazy eye because she's clearly had this for a long time, and it could have been put down to something that happened during surgery or with medications because it was so severe for her age. And they also said that she may need eye surgery, which, given the fact that any more surgery would put her heart under severe risk, it was scary to hear that. Thankfully, she never did have surgery on her eye. After getting this diagnosis, we had to go back every 3 months to the hospital to see the orthoptist and get her eyes checked out to make sure that she wasn't going to require surgery. These appointments went on for years. On the 21st of February 2017, she was going in for her regular orthoptist appointment, and sadly, within the 3 months from her last appointment to the current one, there was no improvement. They made a higher prescription on her glasses, and she was diagnosed with bilateral amyopia, as well as astigmatism. 31st of January 2017, Dawn-louise was referred to wheelchair services. Life had got a bit too tough for her, and she was really struggling with long walks. She can walk for about 40 minutes, and then she needed breaks, but these breaks were becoming longer and longer to the point where days out just weren't a possibility. And during winter, she really, really struggled. Thankfully, now she has her wheelchair. Winters have actually become a lot easier because I can leave her in the wheelchair with a hot water bottle and blankets and a snowsuit, and she can, it keeps her healthy. It really has helped her a lot. I hope that gave you a little insight into what the first few years for us were like. Obviously, there's not too much I can go into given that it was so long ago, but I really appreciate you listening anyway. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to catch the rest of this series, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Everybody gives you advice, yeah, on how to live your life. Don't you know that life is full of surprises? You better realize